All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much for taking the time today. This is, yeah, I mean, staying connected in this world is an interesting thing. Obviously, staying connected to industry is sort of in the blood at SAIT, and even though we can't do it in the normal ways, in some ways, we've got more opportunities through technology like Zoom. So this is the first of what we hope will be many more to come for us to find ways like this to engage our industry and to see how you're doing, to check in, to get thoughts and perspective, the challenges you're facing and the opportunities you see. So with that said, for our very first episode or whatever you might call this, I couldn't be happier to have the both of you on board. Obviously, Kelly, you're part of our advisory board for the school. You've been giving us some great perspective. Cam, you're an alumni of our programs, and both of you are kind of leading people in the independent restaurant scene, which is an interesting perspective. And actually, both of you during COVID have been making changes to your operations. Kelly, you're opening up a new concept, and Cam, you have reconcepted as one of your businesses. So that also brings a really interesting perspective to how you're dealing with COVID and the like. But before we get into some questions and Q&A, quick introductions. Myself, so James Orwell, Dean for the School of Hospitality and Tourism. And I'll throw it to both of you. I'll start with Cam to give a little introduction for each of yourselves.
I'll go for it. But yeah, Cam Dobranski, chef owner of Bar Kensington, formerly Brasserie Kensington, which is now EATCROW Snack Bar, Container Bar. And I also have a couple other hospitality related businesses called Spirit Wares and Medium Rare Chef Apparel.
How about you, Kelly?
So I'm Kelly Black. I'm a former employee of Cam Dobranski, used to be my boss.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that. And no, I mean, I used to work for Cam at BMeX Restaurant years ago, and then about 10 years ago opened up my first restaurant called Una Pizza, and about a year and a half later created a restaurant group called BMeX Restaurant Group, and we opened to date 7 more concepts, and with 2 more coming.
All right, so well, we've kind of obviously we think of questions or things to talk about. You can't talk about anything nowadays without wondering the impacts of COVID and the pandemic, and obviously it's had an extraordinary impact in the hospitality industry. So really just wanted to start with a very broad question. And what have the last few months been like for you as you've been managing businesses through such an extraordinary time? Whoever wants to jump in.
Go for it, Kelly.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have definitely, I think, a story that is atypical for right now, because we've seen some pretty huge, shocking successes through this COVID time. So pretty much March 17th, when we shut down 3 of our restaurants, Native Tongues here in town, Una, and then in town, and then Una in Saskatoon, and right away kind of pivoted into takeout and of course pizza. Especially, it's a no-brainer for takeout, and so luckily years ago we basically spent a bunch of money, and we really invested on the takeout and delivery side of the business, which was Una Takeaway, and we kind of overbuilt a kitchen, and in overbuilding that kitchen we kind of cursed ourselves for 2.5 years, like what do we do, and then all of a sudden this time comes along and we were able to kind of pivot right into takeout, scale up crazy, like basically overnight. And we pretty much we saw 400% increase in our takeaway and delivery revenue, which was shocking and a challenge to, navigate and figure out how to do that kind of volume during COVID, have all the staff feel safe, have customers feel safe. Scale up our delivery. We went from 4 delivery drivers on a Friday, Saturday to 14, which is our own internal guys. We had to we had to figure out how DoorDash functions in the building because they can't stand next to customers, et cetera, et cetera. We were rerouting all of our point of sale systems. We were using the whole business. We were like, it was just quite a crazy time, but it definitely was you know, if you're not in this business for challenges, like really, what are you in it for? And I suppose this was the ultimate challenge. And so, yeah, we really, got lucky, and we don't have a typical story of having a shutdown and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how we've been navigating it. And I mean, it's a good problem to have, but it was still a problem to be solved.
Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting that you're benefiting now from that large kitchen.
Yeah, well, it's true. Like we sunk a bunch of money. Originally in that Una building, we went from 1,800 square feet to 7,100 square feet, kind of overnight, including the basement. And so we were kind of like, what are we doing with all this room? It's way too much. And then overnight, we were using up every square inch, and we were out of room. And so it was just pure kind of luck that we had done that, and we had the ability to, we can do 46 pizzas in every 15 minutes. So we were able to really like scale huge, and take all those orders that were coming in, and people really wanted to support local, which was great. And all of a sudden we saw this support local. And, if you want pizza, there's really Una at the time was we were the only guys that could really do the volume of Pizza Hut or whatever, and if you wanted to support local, we were the only option. And so, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's interesting to hear an atypical story like that. But it's actually really comforting to hear some of the successes. What about you, Cam? How have the last few months been?
Yeah, pretty crazy. It's kind of a blessing and a curse, like I said, but I don't ever want to go through this again. But kind of our story is, I think it was March 16th. We knew something was kind of brewing with the government and all that stuff. And just the vibe of the city was just really weird. And then we're just waiting to see what happened that week. I think it was March 16th. The Prime Minister, I remember sitting at the TV and he said, "Don't go outside." As soon as we heard those words, we were just like, shut her down. Like, it's just not worth it. We wanted to get our staff on as benefits as fast as possible. There's no way we would have survived keeping people on and whatnot. But our concept wasn't a product of the whole COVID shutdown. We were actually planning to shut down the week that the Prime Minister announced for everybody to shut down their businesses. So we had a whole press release to go. We're ready to like shut down and get people excited about a new concept. And then it was just like the wind was taken out of our sails. So we actually kind of sat back and then took a couple days to actually organize the kitchen, and just kind of actually probably 24 hours to organize the kitchen. And so we just kind of put the whole EATCROW concept in the background, and we're like, let's just focus on what we got now. We told our staff that everybody has to stay home. So that was kind of our first thing. So it was just me and my wife, Jack. And so Brasserie isn't by any means a takeout place. And if people know what it was and how we operated, was, we had a little bit of takeout, but nothing like Una or anything like that. So we had to figure out a way to create a buzz around that. And I think we must have been one of the first people to really start doing this. And first day I was kind of like trying to figure out how we could do, and we created kind of menus, but it needed a little bit more than that. So I kind of in my head created this persona called Isolation Kitchen, which we just posted on social media and created kind of a buzz about our menus. And I kind of did like demos of what we're cooking and just kind of created a buzz like that. And, we weren't doing huge numbers, but enough to sustain the business and actually help grow EATCROW into what it is. So we had very limited staff. It took us about 2 months to actually even bring a staff member back, but we were doing, between on average 30, 40 to-go menus a day, some days 70, some days 120. It's something that I didn't want to really brag about because it was just weird times. So we just kind of kept it under wraps and just kept our head down. But we knew we were onto something, and we were just trying to, create this pivot of how could we sustain ourselves? Because if we didn't make some adjustments and create this Isolation Kitchen character, that we would have been dead in the water. And to be able to try to, in my head, if we didn't do something, it would have been very difficult to recover and get out of it. And, it created the whole EATCROW. We renovated while we're doing it. So behind this whole curtain, we were just slowly renovating and just little bits at a time. And it really, like I said, it gave us a lot of time to think about what we're doing, reconceptualize how people are going to dine, think about price points. The new, like the new era of kitchens and restaurants it's a whole completely different ball game now. People want price points. I don't want to say fine dining's dead. Like there's still going to be opportunity, but it just, in my mind, I want to give people value. I want to give people excitement. I want them to forget about what they just went through. And that's kind of what EATCROW is. And it's, if you know what the meaning of EATCROW, it's to be humbled and, you know, kind of put your foot in your mouth kind of saying. But we feel humbled, and that's why EATCROW came to be.
Well, I'm picking up on that that comment of where things you see, you know, where you see things going. I'm curious for both of you, having gone through this, what do you think are going to be the lasting impacts of COVID on either the industry, but also in particular your businesses? How do you see that this will have a lasting impact on how you operate, even when we go back to normal, whenever that might be?
I'll say, I think just people are going to spend their money differently. The whole social distancing is a game changer. You know, I think if you have a to-go program like Kelly, I think that's kind of the way to go, at least for the next year or two. And that's why we've developed on our end a to-go concept that we're just starting to kind of launch. It's called the Dobranski Burger. It's kind of a thing that we've been doing, but honestly, people love pizzas, people love burgers, people love tacos, and Kelly's kind of killed it on all those three, but we're trying to capitalize a little bit on that too. But we're giving, I don't want to be the next burger joint or to-go place, but we're offering something just a little bit different. We're doing like a gluten-free fried chicken to-go, fried chicken sandwich. We're doing a lamb burger. We're doing a beef burger, but we're only offering 4 things. And it's actually starting to kind of take off, and we're kind of launched it at our Container Bar. But, you know, things, so to-go I think is a big thing. I think people are going to spend their money. I think people need to see extreme value in what they're doing. You know, to go blow $150 a person at a restaurant, people just are scared to spend that money. And I don't think we have anything over like $14 on our menu. And I think 90% of our menu is under $10. And it's like, I want people to choose how much they want to spend, not us choose to spend, to tell them how much to spend. For them to come in and spend $30 for an entree, I just don't think that's a viable business anymore. I want them to spend $5, and then if they feel comfortable, they could spend $10 on a drink. And if they feel hungry and they want to stay, they could spend another $6 and create their own bill rather than me creating it for them. And I think that's kind of clutch right now.
Justin, what are your thoughts, Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Cam on a lot of that. I mean, I think even pre-COVID, and we're just talking about the kind of prairie market right now. Obviously, if you're in different markets, it's a different story. But, you know, in Calgary, you know, we had a recession previous to this. And I mean, that's technically still going on, right? So the fallout of that was still happening. And, you know, we saw not only a recession in kind of obviously how the, you know, revenues and et cetera, but we also saw like a recession on like how people dined, really. Like there was a real pullback for adventurous dining. You know, say 2012, 2013, 2014, people were really excited about going out, trying new things, new concepts. If you had you know, at the time we had a Spanish restaurant that was like, you know, we were doing extremely well with it and, you know, serving crazy stuff that no one had ever heard. And there was an excitement in the air, and that was already gone pre-COVID. So to Cam's point, you know, people just wanted comfort food, and he's right. Like pizza, burger, tacos, man, like that's like the trifecta, and, or just comfort food, you know, really, really high quality food at a low price point. And so that trend is going nowhere fast, especially in Alberta. So I totally agree with Cam on that. You know, I think also, you know, I think you know, this a trend that I think is going to continue is, well, I'm hoping to continue is, you know, people being a little bit more open or like aware about who's local, who's your neighborhood place. And this eat local or this support local thing that happened organically, really, I mean, it honestly took us like completely by shock, because it was nothing that, you know, we at Native Tongues or at Una, you know, that we put any emphasis into. It just kind of somewhere it happened in the ether, and we really saw customers coming in and being like, we want to support you. We want to support you. And I really think that that's going to translate, at least for the next 18 months. You know, I think that's really going to be something that you can dig into. You know, people are being a lot more picky and choosy about, number one, who they support. So is it local, you know, service, customer service, those kinds of things, you know, nostalgia, like where, you know, hey, well, we used to go to Brasserie, you know, let's go back there. Or you know, we used to go to, you know, Una back in the day, like remember our first date at Una, let's go check it out. Like, let's go support them. So, I mean, I think that those are some items that are really going to be important for customers and, you know, for restaurants to pay attention to, you know, over the next 18 months or, you know, until there's some sense of normalcy, maybe 2 years, you know, so.
Well, so speaking about normalcy, so in these highly unnormal times, both of you decided to, Kelly, you decided to open a new concept, and Cam, you've been rebranding a concept. Curious if you just share a few thoughts on what that experience has been like, going through what are usually pretty significant experiences for a business, but going through them in a time like this.
Yeah, well, the whole time we're like, me and my wife were just thinking, this is crazy. What are we doing? Kind of a thing. Like, but we knew there was a calculated risk to it, and we put a lot of money into this at a time where you should be putting money in your savings account and stuff like that. But as an entrepreneur and a risk taker, I knew, and same with my wife, we knew that we had to do something because we knew people would come back to Brasserie or our other restaurants. But like Kelly said, people, when we're doing the takeout, we just saw a resurgence of people trying to support local, and we'd have people come back once or twice a week, or if not every week for like literally 2 months. It was pretty crazy. And it's like, it's pretty, it was an honor to see these people kind of supporting us. So it was really, really heartfelt to see that. But to put a boatload of money into a whole concept when you are opening up at 40%, it was pretty scary. But in the back of my head, I knew Calgary wanted something new. They wanted something, a breath of fresh air. They wanted to, like, my biggest thing is I wanted people to forget what's going on and just kind of come to something new rather than going to the old. And, you know, there's always, you know, our wine bar, which is down below, we have, it's just as busy as upstairs at times, but it's more of a staple of the neighborhood. Whereas I knew Brasserie needed a change, and I think that was the right spot to do it, especially in this time. So it was scary. I didn't really think it was, it's hard to say. I don't know. I knew it would work, but you had to be like this perfect formula. If you tried to be too expensive or you'd be too fancy, like we're still a very high level style of food, but I just took we just made it simple. We really focused on allergies and dietary restrictions. We focused on price point. We focused on just a cool vibe, just to make people feel comfortable when they walk in. They're like, oh, I want to stay here. So that's kind of the key to what we really thought. And the whole COVID thing, like I said, EATCROW wasn't a product of COVID. The whole COVID thing just helped facilitate a better, more solid idea, because it just gave us more time to really think about the details. And I'm kind of thankful for that.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. And you're in my neighborhood, so I get to pop down there, which to Kelly's point about enjoying local is a benefit to me. Lucy and I love it there. Kelly, what about your thoughts on your new venture?
Yeah, well, you know, we had made kind of a decision to grow Una last, like, you know, pretty much a year and 3 months ago. So it was just a conversation with our team at Una. They wanted the opportunity to grow. Jamie and I didn't want to grow. We were completely content with what we had, and but we were ultimately going to lose, you know, some of our key people, and they expressed that. And not like we were put under under the gun and like, hey, listen, here's the ultimatum, you know. But we just saw the writing on the wall, you know, and so we kind of put a bit of a, like, a little bit of a growth plan together for Una, because you know, doing one-off concepts is a lot of fun, but it's just a challenge that, you know, I'm in my almost mid 40s now, and I'm not up for that challenge anymore, to try and like beat a concept into into customers' heads, like, yes, Roman pasta place. Yeah, that was a good idea. Like, what the hell is Roman pasta? No one knows that, So, we kind of just were like, let's focus on Una and let's grow this. So that decision was made, obviously way before COVID kicked in, and we were bound to these leases that were signed a year ago. Ultimately, I guess we could have walked away from them, but we still would have been faced with this issue of our team wanting to see that growth. So we just kind of persevered, and I'm not going to lie, it's definitely been a very, very, very bizarre, hard time. Lots of emotions around it. Like, are we doing the right thing? Are we not? Opening up a brand new restaurant to 30-40% capacity, whatever it is. I mean, I know you can be 100, but I mean, unless you're like Craft Rooftop where you can fit 1,000 people up there, really, I mean, like we're running at such a small percentage of occupancy. Social distancing obviously supersedes, everything. So we don't really know how it's gonna flush out, and that's scary. I mean, even right this moment, we're a week and a half away from opening, and I have no idea how it's going to go. We're a brand new restaurant in a suburban neighborhood, and how's that going to go? I mean, the one thing that I do know is that anytime there's been kind of any adversity thrown our way, we've been able to really like dig in, and our team has been able to just totally rise to the occasion. So I mean, if we do open out on 85th, and we have Bridgeland next year, so I'm not even thinking about that right now. That's like far off memory. But it's just a matter of hey, okay, here's another challenge. Let's all dig in. And I mean, we have a 100% success rate right now, knock on wood, with being able to rise to the occasion. So I mean, on the positive side, the build, like the actual construction portion, has been really great, because obviously we started building in March. And so right when this was kicking in. And so I think everybody was just thankful, like, our general contractor and everybody that was involved in the project was just thankful that we didn't pull the plug, and so everybody was working extra hard. And of course, the savings on things going out to tender and being bid on, we saw a little bit of savings there, because people were like, oh my God, a job came through. What's this about? Let's go. I can keep my guys employed. So that was kind of a positive side of things. But yeah, I mean, it's been a very mixed bag of emotions for sure.
So thinking about that mixed bag, and now I'm just curious if you can kind of put yourselves in the shoes of our students, both current and future. And if you're going to provide any words of wisdom or guidance to students who are interested to pursue a career in hospitality, what would you say to them?
My words would be just put your head down and grind it out. Like, a lot of people think things will just be handed to them, and just like there's like an easy button or something along the way. But through this whole COVID thing, I think maybe I feel like I repeat this to myself, but I've had 2 days off in 4 months. And we're talking 12, 14-hour days of just like planning, whether it's in the kitchen. It's like, even on those 2 days that we had off, it's like you're always on, you're always kind of doing something. And I luckily it's paid off, but nothing comes easy. You have to really put in the extra time. I feel I was kind of born an entrepreneur, and you have to have that entrepreneurial spirit, and I think Calgary really has that. But it's just like, take a little bit of risk, put your head down, do it with some calculated thought for sure, but nothing's going to be handed to you. You have to kind of create it. And that's what I feel I have with our restaurants, and Kelly has too. Like, we've come from the same breed. We're just like, if it doesn't work, let's figure it out. Let's try to see how we could change this up. With medium rare, we were making aprons and apparel and stuff like that for the hospitality. And within a week and a half of this whole thing, we pivoted to making face masks for hospitality. Now we're not only doing it for hospitality, we're doing it for lawyers firms, gas firms. It's been crazy. So that saved our business, our plateware line, spiritwares. We went from doing restaurant sales, which went from 100 to zero really fast. We pivoted to online retail sales because what do you have when you're isolated for months at a time? You just surf the net and watch Netflix. So we actually did some decent sales that way and got some recognition and figured out how to do online sales and things like that. So it's just be creative. You know, you have to be creative, put your head down and hustle. I hustle. That's what I do.
Speaking of hustling, I mean, this was a morning Zoom call, but I think you made a little dish, a little sample of something you've got in your restaurant, didn't you, Cam? You want to show that in the camera?
What you guys? Well, here,
Yeah.
I'm going to show you our cutlery first. That's our custom cutlery. EATCROW.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so this is what we've been working on during COVID too, little details, and we're starting our cutlery line, so we're going to be able to laser etch for hospitality and do really cool stuff like that. But right here, this is our vegan. We're actually focusing on a lot of vegan dietary restrictions, gluten-free, all that stuff. So this is our vegan vegetable tartare. Each vegetable is roasted differently, and this is actually our most popular dish, and it's just vegetables, which is awesome. So you have jicama, roasted beets, rutabaga, carrots, cucumber marinated in Tabasco, little walnut arugula pesto, and you got a little balsamic, and you mix it in there, and it comes with some potato chips. So I'm gonna eat this for breakfast.
Perfect.
I think that would be perfect with a Una pizza.
Yeah, which I don't have, but I did bring you a coffee.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love it, Kelly. What about you, Kelly? What words of wisdom would you share for our current or future students?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, again, echo Cam. You know, one thing that Cam left out is that, you know, he's been doing this for 20 plus years, right? So, you know, you think about 20 years and you still are, hey, here's some adversity thrown our way. I'm all in and I'm getting 2 days off in the last 4 months. 20 years later, you know, it's not like, oh, okay, I've put in 10 years and I deserve to just be on vacation all the time. It's like, no, it's kind of just you're always on when there's problems, you got to be there and at all costs. And I mean, I do think that a lot of people have a bit of a skewed view of what this industry is and how maybe easy it is, which it's not. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely, I share a very similar view of Cam, where, you know, it's about hustling forever.
And another little piece of advice, I like, kind of one of my sayings is like, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, because a lot of people will burn bridges along the way, but you never know when a person you might not agree with business wise or personally like, they could give you a lot of things that you might not necessarily know yourself. And I think a lot of young people just burn those bridges really fast. And I've had contacts that I've kept in touch with for over 20 years. And, you know, they could give you great advice later on down the road or help you out or give you a boost somehow.
I want to ask you to name all those people you don't like, but you've stayed in touch with.
I like everybody. We agree to disagree sometimes.
Absolutely. That's a healthy thing. All right. So we're going to close this out with a few lightning round questions. These are sort of 1-2 word sort of answer questions. And so I'll throw the question out and then you can each jump in. Favorite meal as a kid growing up?
Who's starting?
You can start.
I have 2. Pizza, of course. And grilled cheese sandwiches. Come on. What kid doesn't like grilled cheese?
Absolutely. Cap?
Yeah, I'm pizza and just, yeah, pizza. Everybody loves pizza. Kelly.
Pizza.
Yeah.
All right. So post-COVID, there's a vaccine, world's back to normal. What's the first thing you do?
I don't know. Have a party, get the restaurants full, and just celebrate. Get drunk.
Kelly?
Definitely go on vacation somewhere warm where I can lie on the beach and reflect.
All right. So on that little note, beach, pool, hike, or patio? Which one?
Beach.
Cam?
Probably hike.
Hike. Who would play you in the movie of your life?
Cam Dobranski.
Geez. I don't know. Say De Niro. I get a lot of
All
De Niro
right.
comments.
I can see a little De Niro there. That's brilliant. Cake or pie?
Cake.
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 Who'd play you, Kelly, though? You missed that one.
Who'd
Oh,
play
yeah.
me? Well, I
Yeah.
said you, but
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
oh man, I don't know. That's a tough one. Jim Carrey.
Good one. Okay. Would you drink milk if it's past its expiration date?
Yes.
I wouldn't drink milk if it's fresh.
It's and Cam, you're all in. All right. Superman or Batman?
Batman.
Batman.
All right. Well, that's a perfect way to end, I think, on the good old Batman. Gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure. And before we go, I just want to, both thank you for the time, but also, as a Calgarian, as someone who is, obviously in this industry and a big believer in it, I think people like yourselves and what you're doing in this industry are what we need. And you bring an optimism, and that's a hard-earned optimism. And as you've said, it doesn't come easy, but I thank you for everything that you do for us in the city and for obviously specifically the hospitality industry. Thank you for always taking the time to support our school and support our students, which is greatly appreciated, because our job is at the end of the day just trying to provide the best possible talent we can in the sports industry. But I just want to thank you greatly for everything you do and for taking the time this morning.
Awesome.
No problem. Thanks for having us.